Hello and welcome. It's Alex, your IELTS tutor, and I'm excited to talk to you today about the natural world in IELTS speaking. This is such a fun topic, and I'm sure you'll enjoy learning new vocabulary related to animals and their habitats, as well as talking about your own pets and favorite animals. So today we're going to talk about the natural world for speaking part 2 and part 3. We'll learn some new vocabulary related to animals and their habitats, talk about pets for speaking part 2 and 3, and we'll also discuss how to develop answers in part 3. Okay, now let's explore some vocabulary related to the natural world, specifically about some animals and their habitats. Let's start with camels. Camels are animals that have round humps and are commonly found in desert areas. Deers are animals with hard antlers and live in forests. Dolphins are aquatic mammals with long fins that live in the ocean. It's really important to learn the vocabulary related to different animals and their habitats so we can effectively describe them in Part 2 and Part 3 of the speaking test. Other words related to habitats include forest, ocean, and plains. It's also helpful to know words related to animal features such as fur, horn, ears, and thick coat. Now that we talked about some animals and their habitats, let's practice taking notes for part 2 of the speaking test. I'm going to present a question and then give you some vocabulary to help you answer it. Remember to take notes while I'm speaking so that you can organize your thoughts and give a well-structured response. Here's the question. Describe a wild animal from your country. What does it look like? What does it eat? Where does it live? To help you answer this question, here are some useful vocabulary words. Plains. This means flat or gently rolling land. Fur. This is the hair that covers the body of an animal. Horn. This is a hard, pointed part that grows on the head of some animals. Ears. The body part used for hearing. Thick coat. It's a heavy covering of fur or hair. And ocean, a large body of salt water. Remember to include as much detail as possible in your answer. Don't just describe what the animal looks like, also talk about its behavior and habitat. This will help you earn a higher score. Now, let's take a few minutes to practice taking notes on this question and using the vocabulary words I provided. In Part 3, you will be asked more abstract questions related to the topic of the natural world. These questions require a more detailed and thoughtful response, and it is important to show your ability to express your ideas and opinions. One example of a Part 3 question related to this topic is, what can governments do to prevent illegal hunting? For these types of questions, it's important to listen carefully and identify the key words and phrases. This will help you stay on topic and provide a more focused and coherent answer. It's also important to use phrases like I think or in my opinion to show that you are expressing your own thoughts and ideas, but don't rely on these phrases too much. Remember, it's not just about giving one answer, but showing your ability to explain and justify your response. You can provide examples, give reasons, or even invent fictional scenarios to support your argument. Some useful phrases to include could be, I heard that, I read that, or based on my research. When you use these phrases, you can show that you have done some preparation on the topic and have knowledge about the topic. So make sure to practice answering Part 3 questions related to the natural world and try to think critically about your responses. The key is to express your ideas clearly and coherently while demonstrate your ability to use a range of vocabulary and grammar structures. Now that you've got some tips for answering Part 3 questions, let's talk about how to develop your answers in more detail. First, it's important to answer the question directly and clearly. Don't be afraid to take a moment to gather your thoughts and structure your answer before you start speaking. Next, give examples to support your answer. These could be personal experiences, anecdotes you've heard, or even hypothetical scenarios. You can also provide reasons to back up your opinion. Use phrases like, in my opinion, or I believe, to make it clear that you're sharing your own thoughts and not necessarily stating a fact. Another technique you can use is to invent a fictional character to illustrate your point. For example, if you're asked about the advantages of having a pet, you could describe a friend who has a dog and how it brings them joy and companionship. Remember to use a variety of vocabulary and sentence structures to keep your answers interesting and engaging for the examiner. Use phrases like I heard that or I read that to show that you're aware of different viewpoints or arguments on the topic. With these tips, you'll be able to develop your answers in Part 3 and impress the examiner with your fluency and coherence. Okay, it's time to put your skills to the test with some sample Part 3 questions. Let's go through some possible answers together. First, let's take a look at the question about the advantages of having a pet. Some possible advantages are that pets can provide companionship, reduce stress, or even improve physical health. For example, walking a dog can help you stay active and meet new people. In addition, pets can teach children responsibility and empathy. For the question about dangerous animals as pets, I believe it is not a good idea to keep them as pets. Dangerous animals can be unpredictable and pose a threat to both humans and other pets. Even trained professionals can have accidents with these animals, so it's best to leave them in the wild or in specialized facilities. Now let's talk about the question about zoos. While zoos can be great places to see and learn about animals, there are some differences between zoos in the past and those today. In the past, zoos were often designed for entertainment purposes, with animals kept in small, cramped spaces. Today, many zoos focus on conservation and education with larger and more natural habitats for the animals. However, there is still room for improvement, such as providing even more space for the animals and reducing the stress of captivity. And finally, for the question about whether zoos are a great idea, it really depends on the zoo and its goals. Some zoos are doing great work in terms of conservation, education, and research. However, other zoos may not be as responsible or ethical in their treatment of animals. It's important to do research on the specific zoo and its practices before deciding whether it's a good idea to support it. Thank you for joining me today. I have one final tip for you. Not many people know this, but the IELTS test may include different accents, different dialects, with people from different countries and backgrounds. So, expose yourself to various English accents to increase your chance of success. Good luck and see you next time.